It is Paige Bueckers Day in Dallas. I guess there are going to be a lot of those. Locked On Women's Basketball starts now.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, everyone, and happy Tuesday. My name is Howard Megdal, and I am delighted to be chatting with you and welcoming you to Locked On Women's Basketball. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. Over 300,000 of you showed up in March alone to listen to the very significant 6-day-a-week podcast about the past, present, and future of women's basketball. Of course, it is not just me. It wasn't even me at all last week. I was away. However, delightfully, we had our incredible team of hosts, of guests, of analysts, of writers from the Next. If you want to support what we're doing, and you should, because we are reporting over 100 reported pieces every month about women's basketball, go to thenexthoops.com, sign up. $9 a month, $72 for the whole year. You get them all just sent right to your inbox. Just a steady stream of all that is going on. Thenexthoops.com. And goodness knows we're going to have a lot to say about the Dallas Wings, who, to my mind, were one of the big winners in the 2025 WNBA draft, even if you take Paige Bueckers out of it. And you can't, you shouldn't, we won't. But you have to look at this draft. We're going to talk segment 1 about Paige. Segment 2, we're going to get into just a really interesting set of selections. And segment 3, we're talking about what Dallas has to do now in order to capitalize on this. But we're going to start segment 1. What a big deal this is. This is a big deal for the Dallas Wings. This is a big deal for the WNBA as a whole. Let's get into why. Paige Bueckers deciding to come to the WNBA is a win for the WNBA. You can look at any number of things. You can look at television ratings. You can look at ticket sales. Paige is a draw, and you can spend all this time arguing who's the biggest draw. Obviously, it's Caitlin Clark. How much does Paige measure up to that? It doesn't really matter because it's not an either or for the WNBA. It's a yes and for the WNBA. And Caitlin Clark, and again, these numbers, it kind of drove me a little crazy. You know, there's people, oh, it's so far down from last year, but it's above 2023 and every other year that came before it. Oh, okay. Well, that's the NCAA tournament that contained Paige, but not Caitlin. Well, the 2024 NCAA tournament had Paige and Caitlin. Okay. You're about to see a 2025 WNBA with Paige and Caitlin, all part of the same heavy lift happening together, along with Angel Reese, Asia Wilson, Breanna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu. I mean, it goes on and on and on. It's this collective. It's not all or nothing. It's not either or. Paige gets added to the mix. That matters. That matters every time Dallas goes to New York. It matters every time Dallas is on TV. It matters when Dallas plays Indiana. A few years ago, those of us who've been around a while, Dallas versus Indiana was not a marquee game, right? You were never to see that on national TV, in part because the national TV profile was so much smaller, in part because Dallas and Indiana didn't have star power to make that happen. That's changed, and it matters. So I want to turn things over here I want you to hear from Greg Bibb. I want you to hear from the brass in Dallas. But I want you to keep in mind how big a deal this is collectively. And it's a big deal for the Wings. We'll get, especially segment 3, we're going to talk about why that's such a big deal. But let's just be very clear about this. A few years ago, the New York Liberty were left by the side of the road by Jim Dolan. And there was a real concern, right? Because New York media market, significant, suddenly it was essentially abandoned. The Liberty were playing in White Plains. It was not clear what the franchise itself's future was. And that has an impact, not just at the New York level, not just at the team level, but at the league level. A few years ago, the Indiana Fever were one of the have-nots. They were not doing well in the draft. They were not doing well on the floor. They were not drawing. And that has a drag on the WNBA as a whole. And the same for a lot of the time since they moved from Tulsa has been the case for the Dallas Wings. So Curt Miller and Greg Bibb and company convincing Paige to enter the draft, to join the Wings, not official yet. She hasn't signed on the dotted line, but certainly has spoken about all the things on draft night. It gives the Wings a chance at like a true reset. And I've always been, my heart goes out to Greg Bibb and the Dallas Wings in this sense, right? That, they try to set up the card table and it keeps getting upended, right? Liz Cambage and Skylar Diggins-Smith, and, it goes on. And we could have long conversations and we'll continue to have about why that happened again and again. Different coaches, different GMs, same issue, right? But the bottom line is now they can build around Paige. They can do right by Paige. They can build with Paige. And at the end of this year, they get a reset like the entire league does, because basically no one this side of Kalani Brown is signed beyond 2025 other than rookies. So it's a big deal. You'll hear why, hear a little bit. Normally you hear from these civic leaders and you say, oh, it's just nice words from politicians. There's a chance to turn the Dallas Wings into the type of draw for Dallas itself that the Indiana Fever now are for Indianapolis, that the New York Liberty now are for New York City. So it's a big deal for the Wings, for the WNBA, and for New York as a whole. For the women's basketball as a whole. New York included, because watch and see. The Dallas-New York games at Barclays Center, I predict, fearless prediction, hot take, you will see more people show up to them this year than you did last year. And that includes Maddie Segrist's entire family. There's like 200 of them. So, because they'll be there again too. All right, here, listen to what people have to say. I'll be back. We'll talk a little bit more. I'm Howard Megdal. You're listening to Locked On Women's Basketball.
All right. Hello. Can everyone hear me? Just want to make sure. Yes. Okay, great. So this one is for Curt. I'm just curious if you could reflect on how being a GM has changed since you were doing this in Connecticut, and how, you're really overseeing the transformation in how a WNBA team functions.
Hi, Jackie. Thank you for joining us in all your coverage of women's basketball. We appreciate you. Jackie, it has really changed. Many of us back in the day were dual hats, GMs and head coaches, and that time has passed. Speaking from this morning, I talked to two GMs around the league, and we were reflecting on how much work goes into the GM world alone, and to think that we used to do it as the dual hat head coach and GM. So it's really, really changed, Jackie, and really excited. It's 35 years in women's basketball for myself, but first time off the sideline. But I'm telling you, it is a blast putting this team together, this roster, serving this incredible coaching staff. And so it's just a really, really exciting time around women's basketball, and how much the GM role is playing a huge part in the growth of our league.
just to follow up, I'm curious if you could just give an example of some of the things that I guess have illustrated how much this has changed, I guess, besides obvious roster construction.
Yeah, certainly. The sophistication of your cap management has changed dramatically. You know, before when you were making decisions between a max player and maybe a non-max player, the ramifications of making maybe a poor decision really never hurt teams. But the sophistication of managing cap now is truly like a professional team, and it takes you to be nimble. It takes a lot of thought when you're putting those pieces together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Locked On Women's Basketball is brought to you by the Amazon Fire TV. It's so versatile. You can watch all of our bracket breakdown coverage. You can watch all these Fire TV channels, but also, did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Super easy. I sent it to my parents. My parents have it. Took them about 5 minutes to put together. We don't need to talk negatively about them, but let's just say the tech wins are in short supply for them. So the fact that it was so easy, very significant. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6. And avow it as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. So just Fire TV just allows you to do a little bit of everything. It's affordable, it's easy. Childhood me is blown away at the idea that it's a gaming system and it's all the channels you want all in one. Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus. I mean, childhood me wouldn't even know what these are. And yet we've got them all on Amazon Fire TV. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV locked on to get started. That's Amazon.com/FIRETVLOCKEDON to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices including Fire TV Stick 4K second generation, Fire TV Stick 4K Max first and second generation, and Fire TV Cube third generation. Locked On Women's Basketball is brought to you by FanDuel, and the NBA playoffs are here. Not in Dallas. Not in Dallas anymore. So I don't know what you do in Dallas while you wait for WNBA season. I guess what you do is you watch the other teams. I just don't look on. Give me a second. Okay. Luka Doncic, he plays for a different team now. So you can watch him play in Los Angeles, apparently. So when you do, FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. So, Luka shoots three-pointers, steals, assists. There's a lot of different ways that you can continue to follow Luka and the other players in the NBA playoffs, although not, as I understand it, Anthony Davis. After the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into the same game parlay for a chance to win big. Drown your sorrows, Dallas, and the rest of the league. Enjoy the NBA playoffs, which again, for those who don't know, that is the men's league where they play professional basketball, the little brother league to the WNBA. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Howard Megdal here, back on Locked On Women's Basketball. And here in segment 2, a couple of things we want to talk about, right? First of all, obviously it matters that Paige Bueckers is playing for this team. Paige Bueckers, who was essentially a 50-40-90 from the moment she stepped on the court in Stores with the UConn Huskies, a champion, a teammate beloved. I mean, you can't find people to say something negative about Paige Bueckers. Nobody has anything to say other than love and respect for her around the league. And this is not just puffery. You know, I tell you the honest truth here. But truly, Paige's reputation is as good as anyone I've seen come into this league in a very long time, maybe ever. But it's not just Paige, right? Isaiah James was a very, very important piece for NC State. I'm really curious to see what she does for the Dallas Wings. This is a team that's emphasized champions and defense. Madison Scott she just never stops. JJ Quinterly, and I've talked about her, you know, our Jeff folks talk about it on the Saturday show, an elite, to my mind, the best on-ball defender in college basketball last year. Perimeter, just an incredible player. If she can shoot well enough, she's going to make that team, and she's going to be really, really interesting. And Aaronette Vonleh, I mean, has the legit build. Had a chance to see her in person several times actually this year, but specifically a couple of weeks ago at the All-Star game on the Saturday of the Final Four in Tampa. And she's got a W build. Like it's not somebody who's going to have to get in the weight room in order to hold her own with fives. It'd be interesting to see. You know, again, the question is, does she have enough offensively to do it? But can she be a contributor off the bench right away? Absolutely. So Dallas Wings have a lot of talent to look at. And again, I just want to go back to end of 2025, whole bunch of free agents. But you sign people to a rookie scale deal and you've got them locked in. That is a very big deal, given that the CBA is being negotiated as we speak, given the fact that 80% of the league essentially is going to be a free agent after 2025. For you to be able to say, hey, we've got Paige, we've got this group of youngsters who have really solidified what we're doing. And Dallas is in a great position, just a great position. Anyway, I want you to hear from the rest of the rookie class as well. I'm Howard Megdal. You're listening to Locked On Women's Basketball.
Yeah, we're just really excited. A big foundational year for us with all these moving parts. We have 3 outstanding returners, but the entire roster has flipped with a tremendous draft class, but also a very successful free agency, including the largest trade in WNBA history. So we're really, really excited about meshing these parts together. There's going to be an adjustment with everybody playing with each other for the first time. But again, no limits with this crew. The momentum is really building, and I think you're going to see a surprise, a ton of teams.
Yeah, first, thanks to all of our players who made it up here to support us in this moment, and our coaching staff as well, already getting after it, getting in some workouts, getting us ready for camp. But yeah, it's all about that connection that we can create. And we have a lot of vets, but they're youthful vets. We're a young team, and that balance is exciting. They have all these experiences, and they're still very youthful. So we'll challenge the rookies and empower them to be rookies and lean on the vets. And at the same time, you have all these great experience as well. So please bring them and please contribute. Everyone can lead from where they are, and I'm excited to empower everyone to be able to do that.
I will tell you, again, building off of that, there was a real intent to build a team that is in the prime of their careers. So when you look at free agency and the trades, we filled our roster with a lot of players in that, what we call the prime of their careers in the WNBA, that 26 to 30-year-olds with a lot of great experiences, but they're coming into career years. They're coming off of career years and building that. And then the synergy with the draft class and the youthful excitement and the new tools of the draft class, just really excited to blend it together. We will be one of the youngest teams in the league, but we believe we'll be one of the most exciting teams in the league.
I'd say mine is just a low post presence. I'm very physical down there. I like to be aggressive and just get easy buckets in the paint.
I would say my defense, but I also have the ability to create on the offensive end too.
I feel like my passion, my passion, my energy, it fuels me on both ends of the floor, so I'm excited to get to work.
Howard Megdal here, Locked On Women's Basketball, Part 3. We got to talk about what the Dallas Wings have to do in 2025. And I don't mean on the court, although they're going to have to show progress on the court. Thank you very much, Curt, Chris, Isaiah, Paige. Congratulations. My question actually the same for Paige and for Curt, although I assume you'll come at it from two different angles, which is to say that you both expressed desire for a new start in Dallas and for Paige, as you put it, a big time organization. And I'm wondering if you could isolate kind of one metric that is most important to you as you think about it, Paige and Curt, each of you. What is that metric that we should all be looking for by the end of season 1? I don't mean on the court, I mean off the court, to make it a big time organization and a fresh start.
Yeah, Paige, Howard, thank you. I think that we are trying to create a player-first environment and attract future players to want to come and stay in Dallas. And through free agency, through trades, we have accomplished a lot of our goals of bringing in great players, but more importantly, great people that other people around the league would want to play with. And so if there's a metric at the end of the year, knowing we're upcoming in a very much a fishbowl with a new CBA on the horizon and what next year's free agency will look like, we feel like we've accomplished a great deal already with people. And that's what we want at the end of the year, that people look around going, we would enjoy joining that group in Dallas. The last caveat, Howard, and I'll turn over to Paige, but it's unprecedented what's going on here with the future practice facility, which will give us an incredible opportunity to train and play each and every day. It will take a backseat to no one, and that is a true commitment by this city and the vision for women's sports down here in Texas, that's all coming together. And then the renovated arena. So much excitement around facilities. We know that's a game changer, and that is on the horizon for this group.
Howard, I can give you, sorry to interrupt here, but I can give you a metric here. We talked about this early on, just trying to define success and establish it. And so for me, we have exit interviews at the end of every season. And in those exit interviews, if a majority of our players can walk in there and say, I enjoyed that season, regardless of wins and losses, this is a place I want to be. These are people I want to be around. I want to be back. Can you please resign me? Then we'll have begun on the right direction of establishing our foundation.
I appreciate it. Locked On Women's Basketball is brought to you by Game Time, and there is almost nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. During the WNBA offseason, that is. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena, and with Game Time, you can be part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Game Time makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets, even when demand is Caitlin Clark-like. Prices on the app actually go down as tip-off gets closer, and their last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. I am very excited to get to every single playoff game here in Philadelphia, where the 76ers, last I checked, they have a big three, and I'm sorry, I'm being told that the Sixers season was a disaster, but around the country, it's NBA playoff time. And for those of you in more fortunate cities, you'll get the opportunity to do it all. Last minute deals even save you up to 60% buying last minute for concerts, comedy, theater as well. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off, whether that's NBA playoffs or getting ready for the WNBA openers in just a few weeks. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Let's make this real simple. Real simple. What do ticket sales look like at the end of 2025? What do merch sales look like at the end of the 2025 season? What's the social media platform like? How good is Dallas at capitalizing on Paige Bueckers arriving in Dallas? And what's interesting here, by the way, is that Indiana and Caitlin have really set a standard that now people understand can be met. You know, I mean, for those of us who've been around this a long time, the stuff that was happening in Indiana last year, a lot of it was organic. And a lot of it was just, oh boy, we're seeing things we've never seen before. So nobody knew what the ceiling on that was. Nobody knew. So, you know, where do you land on it? But now that's all happened. Now we understand what's possible. Dallas, by the way, is a bigger market than Indianapolis. So these are things I'm keeping an eye on. A lot of people are keeping an eye on. And especially those who want Paige Bueckers to play in Dallas for the long term need to be laser focused on it. What does the sponsorship money look like? These are all bottom line things we're going to need to see answered. And maybe the biggest one, just from my perspective, Bill Cameron and the ownership group, they need to have the Wings playing in an NBA level arena. They do. Gainbridge Fieldhouse is where Caitlin Clark plays. If we see a gap between the way, and it's not the same ownership group, so it gets more complicated. But if we see a gap between how the Winds and Mavericks are treated, I don't mean relative to trades for Anthony Davis, but I mean in terms of player experience. Let's go with that. We don't see that gap anymore between the Pacers and the Fever. We don't see that gap, by the way, between the Nets and the Liberty. And for a long time, we haven't seen that gap between the Timberwolves and the Lynx. The measurement isn't improvement anymore. The measurement is true equality and the amount of money generated by WNBA teams when it's done right has made that conversation a different conversation. So that, as much as anything else, as much as wins, as much as how Paige interacts with her new teammates, current, possibly future former, again, they've got a year to figure this all out, and then everyone's going to be free. They've got a year to figure this out, and Paige is signed to Unrivaled. So you want Paige coming back in 2026? This is how you do it. Going to be fascinating. A huge win, a huge opportunity for the Dallas Wings. Now they have to capitalize on it. So that's our show for today. We're back with you tomorrow, as we are 6 days a week. Always happy to be talking women's basketball with you. Until then, I'm Howard Megdal, wishing all of you a wonderful Tuesday.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.